Discrimination in rideshare. Say it ain't so. Being candid, I understand anytime someone that looks like myself appears before the public and suggests discrimination is something that exists, folks instantly state he's just crying a race card. And I want to make sure this time I'm not doing just that. So I'm going to present this to you. Let you folks decide without yours truly saying much at all. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim with another ride sharing video. Saw this one, article titled, Police Give More Speeding Tickets to Black, Hispanic, and AAPI rideshare drivers than white ones. Data shows. Now, AAPI, what the hell is that, everybody's going to ask? Asian American Pacific Islander. Everyone knows what an Asian American is. Pacific Islander, Fiji, Tonga, Samoan, those type of folks. Guys look like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, that brownish complexion. Those folks that the police give those folks and folks who look like yours truly tickets, speeding tickets. Rideshare drivers more often than white folks. Is that possible? Is that just simply brown and colored folks pulling the damn race card? Here is some information from this article. Let you folks decide. Research shows that people of color are disproportionately targeted by police for violence and arrests, and black drivers are 20% more likely to be pulled over by police than white drivers, according to one large survey. What large survey? Now, we'll try to link who the hell came up with this information in the description. But targeted for violence? Are blacks targeted for violence by police? I'll leave that up to you. That's a pretty strong statement, but here is the gist of what they're talking about. Now, for the first time, a new research report published by Lyft found that rideshare drivers who self-identify as Asian and Pacific Islander, Hispanic, or Black were 24 to 33% more likely to receive a speeding ticket than white drivers, even when driving at the exact same speeds. The authors have the GPS data to back up their findings. As a result, this same combined group of rideshare drivers ended up paying 23 to 34% more in fines. Now, obviously, if you're pulling over one particular group more than another group, yeah, that group's going to pay more in fines. That doesn't surprise anyone. But what do you think? You think what they're finding has any validity to it? Now, keep in mind, this was produced by Lyft. So we're not talking some, entity out in space. Lyft. You heard of Uber, you heard of Lyft. That's what we're talking about. Lyft produced this finding. Now, obviously, Lyft has a hell of a lot of information, a ton of data to make conclusions on. And we'll give you one more piece of this, which shows you how large the data sample is that they've taken. But what do you think? Now, this happened in Florida, by the way. So this is not nationwide, at least that is my understanding. They talk about Florida. Now, they did reach out to the authorities in Florida. They don't want shit to do with this. They're not responding, things like that. But we all know that the ride-sharing companies have GPS data on all of us drivers. We all know that they know exactly how fast you are traveling. So when they say that they're comparing white drivers to black drivers traveling at the same speed, they actually can prove that simply by looking at your GPS data. You notice, like Santa Claus, he knows when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. They know what you're doing behind the wheel, certainly in terms of speed, and they know where your location is at all times. So what makes them come up to this conclusion? Continuing on, the data analyzed included 40 billion different GPS observations, which can be used to determine a driver's location and speed. The researchers cross-referenced that data with traffic violation records from Florida that they obtained by filing a Freedom of Information Act request. You can be damn sure the state of Florida didn't want that Freedom of Information Act granted, but I do believe you have a constitutional right to get this information. Usually what happens when the authorities can, get wind that you're doing some kind of study that's going to view them negatively, they push back on these Freedom of Information requests. They end up losing oftentimes, but it can take a long time to get the data because they kind of know where you're going based on what you're asking for. If you start asking for all of the evidence records, for instance, or you start asking, well, how many drivers were colored or how many black or how many drivers were white, they know what the hell you're trying to do. So I'm assuming that's probably one of the reasons why the authorities in Florida are not responding to any damn thing to do with this particular finding. Continuing on, though, by comparing Florida speeding tickets with Lyft GPS data, the researchers determined which vehicles were ticketed and how fast they were going. Then, using publicly available information from the Florida State Election Board, they were able to match drivers' names with self-reported racial identification. That allowed them to determine the race of the drivers who received the speeding ticket. So, not necessarily trying to come here and cry out the damn race card, because I know a hell of a lot of folks do not like seeing someone like me talking about discrimination. This came from Lyft. I'm simply reporting what I saw to ask you folks, particularly my drivers, my veteran drivers in particular. Have you seen anything like this? Particularly if you are a driver of color, AAPI, Hispanic, Black, you name it. Do you feel like maybe you're being targeted in any way, shape, fashion, or form? Now remember, this is Florida, and we're talking about speeding tickets. But a lot of drivers get involved in chaos, for instance, if you're dealing in Chicago or New York somewhere, where you're constantly stopping places where the police may not want you to park, no stopping, things like that, and the police can mess with you there. Same thing when you're dealing with airports. Oftentimes you're coming in contact with police a lot more than you normally would be. Have you seen, as a rideshare driver of color, contact with police, in your opinion, that you believe is excessive simply because of the way you look? Or do you think this study is total bullshit? I'd be curious to know you folks' opinion, but I am simply shocked that Lyft themselves would produce this. This is not coming from MSNBC or the NAACP or any shit like that. It's coming from Lyft. 40 billion a sample size that's 40 billion strong. They got the GPS data. They know how fast you're going. They know where the hell you're located at. And they have white and black drivers to compare it to. Do you think it's all bullshit? Do you think maybe perhaps Lyft is choosing to pull the race card? And if so, why? Why would Lyft do that? Let your boy know in the comments. You've seen any shit like this while you've been on the road? Wow. I was really stoked to see this. It's your boy Tim. Feel free to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.